Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of Sean's Movie Crusades. My name is Sean Waskrug and I'm here to review all the latest films in theaters and streaming, as well as anything that you guys recommend, whether it be recent films or old school movies. Before we get to today's review, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel, so that way you guys stay up to date with all the latest information that pops up on YouTube, and also don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Now today we're going to be reviewing The Curse of La Llorona, and I know I probably didn't say that correctly because phonetically it's a Spanish name, but that's what I'm going to call it in this, so bear with me on that. Coming out of Comic-Con last year, there was a lot of buzz around this movie because I got to see some scenes from the film, and a lot of people were real excited for the film overall based off the scenes they got to see. But then there were some early screeners shown at South by Southwest last month that were kind of teetering on the fence between bad to okay. So expectations kind of simmered out a little bit, but I was actually excited to see this because I later found out, I did not know this up until basically a couple days ago before seeing it, that this is actually, and this is not a, I mean, it's spoiled in the movie, but it's not a spoiler for the film overall, is that this is a considered adaptation or connection, and it actually freaking says it on the thing behind me, that this is a connection to the Conjuring universe. For people who don't know what that is, probably this isn't the movie for you, but basically you have the Conjuring verse, which was established by The Conjuring, which is based on a true story of the paranormal, not hunters, but paranormal activists, Lorraine Warren and her husband, who actually, sadly, she passed away today on the release of this movie. So that was kind of creepy in a sense. But anyway, rest in peace. But basically, based on their stories and books, it spawned the Conjuring franchise, which the third one will be coming out next year. It spawned the Annabelle franchise, The Nun as well, and now The Curse of La Llorona. Not that the Warrens are connected to this film by any means, but there is a scene in the film that means that makes it a part of the same world that the Conjuring verse is a part of. So you could call it a spin-off or just another film in the franchise of the Conjuring verse. There is no connection to the actual Warrens in the film, but it is in the same world as The Conjuring. So going into the plot, I mean, the La Llorona is a folklore Mexican cultured tale that a lot of people know about or hear about. And basically, the story of La Llorona is that there was a Mexican woman, and this is around like the 1600s, who was married to this man who had two boys, and she finds out that her husband is cheating on her with a younger woman, and in for basically her revenge, she goes after the one thing that he loves more than anything in the world, and that's their own children, and she basically drowns both her sons in a river, and overcome by the guilt of what she had done, she drowns herself, thus becoming a vengeful spirit who goes in search of boys like her, or children in general, like her two sons, to basically reunite her with them in turn, which would mean they would drown as well. The tale goes further that in Mexican culture that they would tell their children, be good or La Llorona will come and take you in the night and make you hers. So kind of like a Mexican boogeyman or boogie woman kind of tale, and so they've adapted it to an actual film. So in terms of the actual plot of this movie, the opening actually does show how La Llorona starts. You actually go back to the 1600s and you see her do the murder of her two children, and then we go to after that we go to the 1970s, which is where the movie takes place, and you have this mother played by Linda Cardellini, who her name's Anna Tate Garcia, and she's a newly widowed mother of two children. Her husband was a cop. It does not precisely say how long it's been since he's died, but it's definitely been with at least under a year to a year. So she's kind of going into the motions of trying to be the only parent in a household of two kids. and she's basically a social worker. So she basically keeps in charge of children who are either under foster care, adopted, or people who are suspected of child abuse. So basically, there's a certain situation where she has to go check on two boys and a mother who she had been at least close with in terms of her job for the last few years. She shows up, and the woman is acting crazy and not like herself. She's got candles lit in all over the room, or all over the house. It's very dark. She looks like she's drugged up and just insane, and she finds that her two children are locked in a closet. So thinking that this is a child abuse situation, she removes the two kids from the mother and has the mother arrested. What she does not realize is that the mother is actually protecting the two boys from La Llorona, and because of her basically taking the children away from her, La Llorona does get her hands on the two boys and inevitably kills them. I know that sounds like a spoiler, but this is all literally in the first 15 minutes, and it's what sets up the rest of the film. So then the mother of the two boys who pass basically tells Linda Cardellini's character that she is praying for La Llorona to take Anna's children, and maybe that she would return her two boys to her. So she basically prays to this ghost to curse Anna and her two children, and in the hopes that La Llorona will return her two boys. And then from there we go into the craziness of La Llorona coming after Anna and her two children. And that is basically what the movie is in a nutshell. So that is the general plot. Now, what works in The Curse of La Llorona is, first and foremost, Linda Cardellini is doing everything she can to make this movie float. I'm a huge fan of Linda Cardellini. I loved her in Scooby-Doo. She played Velma in the Scooby-Doo franchise. Some people might know her from ER. In latest films, she played Viggo Mortensen's wife in Green Book. And then, of course, most notably probably for everybody recently, she's Hawkeye's wife in The Avengers, Age of Ultron. So she's been kind of around, but she's never really had a lead actress role where the movie was focused on her, or at least not into the forefront of where it's a big movie in theaters. I mean, I'm sure she's probably been in charge of lead actress role in like independent films, but never in a wide release theater kind of film. So Linda's doing everything she can to kind of make this film her own, and she does a great job with what she does in performance-wise in the film. She does a solid job in the mother role. I mean, she comes off protective. She's trying to do everything she can to protect her kids from La Llorona when she actually finds out about La Llorona. And there's some other things that I'll get to later, more around her character. But herself, she is doing the best she can with what she is given as an actress. The La Llorona character in general, for the most part, her scares work. But she is she basically is stuck doing the same old things we've been kind of seeing recently, which is basically jump scares. She basically hides in dark corners or hides behind certain dark areas, and then when you know the jump's going to happen, there's like a beat, and then she jumps out and goes for him. There's not really much more to the La Llorona ghost in the film outside of that, and I'll touch a little bit more on that later. But even though there's not much to the ghost and what the ghost does, it's very effective in the scenes that we get. Could they have done a little bit more to make her more unique, make her a little bit stronger of a ghost or creature in a sense to make the movie a lot stronger? Absolutely. But what they do in the movie does work for what they're shooting it for. So pretty much anything La Llorona, for the most part, does work solid. It's just that it's a lot of the same stuff that we've seen from many horror films before. So if people are starting to get tired or tedious of that certain type of horror, then you're probably not going to find this movie that appealing. Now, for people who get scared very easily or are very accustomed to reacting to the jump scares, then La Llorona is right up your alley, because a lot of the scares are that kind of jumping out of the dark corner and reaching out or screaming and kind of doing that jump scare effect. So if that's the kind of movie you guys like, then you're guys gonna love this movie. Another standout performance comes from Raymond Cruz. He plays Rafael Oliveira, and he kind of pops in about halfway to almost the third act of the film. And speaking that this is a part of the Conjuring verse, this is a character that I would love to see pop up in other installments of other films. Now, I know this movie's set in the 1970s, so I don't know how he'll be able to come into play, but this is definitely a character that I actually quite enjoyed, and his addition to the film definitely upped the overall value of the film itself. While it was kind of running at this kind of a pace, adding him definitely bumped it up quite a bit. It added more humor, and then it definitely added a lot more suspense and I guess action would be the term to use, to definitely elevate the film to the next step going into the third act. And I had a real good job, I had a real good feeling about his character coming in. I didn't really know what they were going to do with it, but I liked what they did with it to the point where I would love to see him pop up in future Conjuring verse type films. The children actors who play Anna's kids, which are Janie Lynn Kinchin, she plays Samantha, and then we also have Roman Christou, he plays Chris. They're fine. They do a great job. Like I said with Linda, they do a great job with what they are given. They sell the scares very well. And they definitely, chemistry wise, work really well with Linda in the scenes with everything, and even with Raymond, they all have very good chemistry together and work well in their scenes. It's definitely not an awkward kind of thing, at least from their performance standpoint. That doesn't necessarily mean that they were written particularly well, and we're gonna get to that point. But the kids did fine. I mean, there wasn't really a bad acting performance out of the group. So everyone that was in the film, for the most part, did a good job. The only one that was kind of wish-washy, and that was because of just, like I said, the role she had to play, was Patricia Velasquez, like I said, butchering it, I apologize. But many people might know her from the Brendan Fraser Mummy franchise. She plays Anck-su-namun, the female Egyptian queen or Egyptian mummy from those franchises. And I hadn't seen her really since then. So that was kind of a nice, like, oh, I remember her kind of callback. But I mean, she plays, crazy grieving mother, because she plays the mother of the two boys in the beginning of the film. So she's constantly kind of playing this kind of, not over the top, because she doesn't do anything over the top drastic. I mean, she basically just plays someone who is terrified of La Llorona and is mourning her kids, but for someone outside of the story, I mean, yeah, she looks batshit crazy. She does a solid job. It's just that her character isn't given a whole lot to do, and when her character actually is something to do, they just completely drop her character altogether, especially near the end of the film, which didn't really make a whole lot of sense overall. That's all that really works with the film overall. I mean, the scares, for the most part, work, even though they're a lot of the same stuff we've seen for the last few movies. But the atmosphere works. So for people who like these kinds of films, they will probably enjoy The Curse of La Llorona. People who are looking for something unique, special, something different, you're not going to get that here for the most part. So that's kind of where this kind of, whether or not you guys will like it or dislike it, is where that's going to come. But that's what works for the film overall. What does not work, and the biggest problem overall with the movie, is the script. And I know I've been kind of, over the last couple of movies I've reviewed, I've been really beating this down, is how bad a script can ruin a film, aka Hellboy. But the script is what's the problem with the film. There's really clunky dialogue throughout the film. There's just bad character choices done throughout the movie, especially with the kids. Like I said, nothing against Janie Lynn Kitchen and Roman Christou. They're doing fine with what they're given, but the direction, and this is not necessarily a director job either, because the director, it's Matthew. I'm sorry, not Matthew. Michael Chavez or Chives. Like I said, I'm horrible with names. He's actually going to be doing the Conjuring 3 franchise. I like the way he shoots his films. I mean, it's shot very well, but just the direction and where they go with the story and how the characters act in the film is what does not work for me. The mother, Linda Cardellini's Anna character, there are certain things before she knows La Llorona's there that it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense why a mother wouldn't say this thing or do this thing or not notice this, especially when it comes to her children. That kind of just makes you go, is this woman really all that bright when she comes to her own kids? But she seems like a relatively smart character, so for her to be oblivious to a lot of the things that is happening in the movie just doesn't fit the character that we've been kind of watching for the movie. And then the kids come off very bright to start the film, but then they just start doing some incredibly stupid things, like not talking. One of the biggest problems with this movie is that no one talks to anybody in this movie. If the kids had just gone to the mom, or if the mom had talked to the kids, or paid attention in a sense, I'm not saying that they would have stopped La Llorona faster or kept La Llorona from coming after him, but it definitely wouldn't have been so annoying and aggravating watching this thing unfold, because it's just like, are you kidding me? Pay attention to what you're doing. Why aren't you talking? Why aren't you telling people this? I mean, there's one particular scene, and it's kind of the situation where it gets flipped on Anna's head, where they start to think that she's abusing her two kids because of La Llorona haunting them, and the kids don't speak up. They just kind of act scared in front of their mom, which makes Anna look guilty. And I'm just like, do your kids not love you? Because they're making you look like you abuse them. And it's just like stupid decisions like that. And then there's one huge, I'm not going to get into it. I would love to, because it infuriated the hell out of me. And it infuriated everyone in the theater while I was watching it, where a character does something so effing stupid that you're just like, what the hell? Why? Stop. Why are you doing that? Your character is not that dumb. Your character shouldn't be that stupid. So why is your character doing this? Basically because they wrote themselves into a corner and they needed a way to get out of it. So let's have a character do something incredibly stupid and dumb to proceed the plot forward to the film, which to me is always one of the biggest flaws to a badly written script, especially for a horror film. And it's also one of the biggest pet peeves that I've got when it comes to horror films in general, is if you can't write a good script and make the movie flow from beginning to end with what you're doing without having to make a character do something incredibly bonehead stupid that is out of the realm of their character throughout the entire film, then that is a badly written script. If you're going to have her do something stupid like that, then make her character, or anyone's character in that movie, stupid from the get-go, or someone who makes bad decisions, so when they make this stupid choice or this stupid decision, it makes sense with the character. Don't make the character clever or smart, and then all of a sudden have them be the dumbest person in the room for just 5 seconds, just so you can get something moving forward with the plot. That's just bad writing in general, and for the director to allow that. And the thing is, too, is that on the director side of it, yes, this scene is incredibly annoying and stupid, and everyone in the theater was just like, are you effing kidding me that this is happening right now? This is so dumb. This person just deserves to die if they continue to do this, which they do. But on the director's side of it, he makes it work and he makes it tense. So even though it's an incredibly stupid thing you are watching, it is shot incredibly well. So I'll give the director some kudos for that. But just continually parts of the film, the characters are doing incredibly stupid things. I know I keep saying incredibly a lot, but I can't establish that point enough. Is that the characters are played to be stupid, but they are coming off way smarter than they are, so that they do random stupid things to further the plot. Not because that's what their characters would do. It's because the movie needs them to do these things to continue, or the movie stops. And that's the big problem with the film overall. Other things potentially wrong with the movie is they don't really establish the rules of La Llorona. She just kind of does whatever the hell she wants, whenever the hell she wants. She's visible, she's invincible, she has telekinesis, she's telepathic. It's like, can I get a rule book of what she's actually capable to do and what she isn't capable of doing? Because it seems like there's nothing that she can't do, which basically makes her a god in a sense. But for some reason, there are ways to outsmart her. But based off of the stuff she was doing in the movie, I don't understand how that would stop her. It's just there's no rules to the character, and so it makes, like I said, whatever the plot needs La Llorona to do, she does it. There's no staple rule book for her character or for the ghost to follow, and that just kind of, it makes it frustrating when you're watching the movie overall, because there's no rules for the character. There's so much promise in this movie. There's so many areas where they could have gone to have done something new and unique. There's, like, with La Llorona, there were areas where I'm like, they could really dive into this whole situation and make this movie incredibly unique and strong. The child abuse aspect storyline of it, because it is a ghost that is hunting their children, and when she starts sinking her teeth into the children, not physically sinking her teeth in, but starting the haunting, it does come off looking like child abuse to anyone who's not being haunted by her. And that was a beautiful twist that they started to go to, but then just completely abandoned. There's one part where one character gets stuck in a situation, and the Raphael character goes, this person's stuck like this now because of La Llorona. She's going to do this blank, blank, blank unless we stop her. And then they immediately abandon that 5 seconds later to the point where it's not a factor anymore. So why did you establish that and then not follow through with it? There's all these things in the movie where there are moments where this movie could really have just flipped the script and done something unique and powerful and great to make this movie great. And they just fall into the same horror tropes and lazy writing to just get the movie over. And then the end also makes no sense. I mean, not into the point where it's like, they have all these things happen, and it's very hard to say it without spoiling stuff. They have these things happen that have consequences to them, but you never find out what the consequences are. It's just like, oh wow, well that was a crazy night. Time to move on, or it's just like, but wait, what happened with this? What happened with this? That you left everything out in the open. You didn't explain anything. It's just like, are we just supposed to accept it? Yeah, because the movie ends. And so that's a problem that you have. And then also, and this is something that happens with all the Conjuring films, but this one in particular just really irked me. The movie is way too damn dark. I mean, there's one scene where Anna is literally walking around the house because she's following a sound. And she goes by every single light in the house and doesn't even once attempt to flip the light on. And I'm sorry, no human being who's going and following scary noises throughout the night in their house is not at least turning on one light so that way they can see what's going on. And it's like a 2-3 minute long scene as she's just blindly in the dark walking through her house trying to follow where this ghost sound is, and never once turning on the light. And then the movie itself is just like, everything's kind of just in this dark lighting. There's no scene in the movie where it's in generally a bright situation. It's like they didn't want to pay an electrical bill for this entire film, because the whole movie's just way too dark. And even then, especially in the beginning of the film, it's hard to even see La Llorona in certain points because it's so dark. There were times in the theater I had to actually lean forward and squint to go, is that what I'm supposed to be looking at? I can't tell what I'm looking at here because the movie was just way too dark. I'm not saying that it needed to be vibrant and bright, but at least lighten it a little bit so we can actually fully see everything. So, I mean, because if it wasn't a freaking close-up, or if it wasn't, being shot in a moonlit area, it was very hard to see what was going on throughout the entire movie, because most of the film takes place in the dark. So it was just kind of one of those things where it's like, you kind of just had to squint and watch it as you went on. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of everything when it goes on. Now, bear in mind everything that I explained with the movie has gone wrong. I still slightly, I mean, for the most part, kind of enjoyed the film overall. Like I said, the scares work. It's just one of those movies that's like, it's not bad. It's just disappointing because you see where the movie could be better and stronger and really could have done something like the Conjuring films to really kind of push through and become its own thing. But instead, it was just lazy, and it just decided not to do anything at all. So for overall thoughts, it's solid in a sense. Like I said, depending on what kind of horror film or horror fan you are, will greatly depend on whether or not you will like the movie at all. Like I said, if you're looking for something new and inventive and something that's really going to change the pace of a horror film, this is definitely not for you, and you're probably not going to enjoy the movie overall. If you like the generic jump scare kind of movies where you just want to go there, jump, and scream and laugh at it, then yeah, you'll probably like The Curse of La Llorona. And that doesn't necessarily make it a bad movie per se, because some people like those kinds of films. And like I said, the acting is good. The acting's great all around. It's a script problem that they do stupid things, and that's not the actors' fault. They are following the directions. So I can't attack them for that because they're doing what they're being told. It is literally a directing and script issue. So it's kind of an uneven film overall. But I did like it better than Pet Sematary. I enjoyed it more than Pet Sematary. So because of that, going into the top movies of 2019 so far, La Llorona does take over Pet Sematary for the number 10 spot in the week. Everything ahead before that will stay right where they're at. So going to the top 10 list, Us is still number 1 for, it's been about a month now that Us has stayed at the number 1 spot. Followed by Shazam, then goes Fighting with My Family. God, that felt like that came out forever ago. Followed by How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World. The Lego Movie 2, the second part. Followed by Happy Death Day to You. Then The Upside. Then Captain Marvel. Then Alita Battle Angel, and then we got The Curse of La Llorona, with Pet Sematary dropping out of the top 10. Now, obviously, next week, we've got the big one, probably the most anticipated movie of 2019, and that is Avengers Endgame. So, La Llorona, unless Endgame gives us all a giant FU, I don't see La Llorona lasting in the top 10 past this week. So yeah, that's the review for La Llorona. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys felt like this movie review was worth sharing, go ahead and hit that share button. But most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, so that way you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos. And also, feel free to leave comments. If there are movies you guys want to have reviewed, leave the comments either on this video or on any of the social media outlets you see below. Next week, we got some new things coming to the channel that I'm real excited about. I will be doing my I will be doing my full MCU movie ranking. I will be ranking all 20. And I say 20 because I am not counting the Incredible Hulk in this list because it doesn't fucking matter. Sorry for the F-bomb. I will be ranking 1 through 20 all the MCU movies, in my opinion, from best to worst. And then also, this week as well, I'm going to be doing something new, and I'm going to be having co-hosts and guests on the show, and we are going to be doing an MCU chat where we're going to be going over previous MCU films, what our top films are, and just kind of a big discussion about the MCU verse heading into Endgame. And then, of course, Endgame comes out Thursday night. I will have the review up by early Friday morning. And then once, probably within the week after Endgame gets released, I will probably bring those same guests onto the show, and we will be doing a spoiler cast talk about Endgame, discussing what happens in the movie and everything on there. So I hope you guys are excited for that. I hope you guys check that out. And yeah, so be ready, because there's going to be some more videos popping up here in the next week. And until next time, Movie Crusaders, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.